Now we have to go another hour. Call the meeting to order. Stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Tim Yoakum is at the Republican National Convention, so he'll be absent. R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Britton Luther, present. Approval of minutes on 7/2/24.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second the motion. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Approval of claims for 7/19/24.
I'll make a motion to approve claims for 7/19/24.
Second the motion to approve claims. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of payroll for 7/19/24.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll for 7/19/24.
Second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Is there any comment anybody wishes to make tonight? Of course. You might want to push that back before somebody. Can you push that
On
back, Mark?
TV.
Our public comment may be something else. Mr. Peebles, what do we have today?
All right, my name is Scott Peebles. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the current fire chief for Help Fire and Rescue. I'm also the paid driver there during the day and a basic EMT with 24 years of service with the fire department. I'm here today because I'd like to voice my opinion on the current location of the county's ambulances. I deal with the emergency services every day. My biggest concern is not the level of care, but the time it takes to get the level of care to the people in need. Since July 1st, we have had runs north of 36 because that's how our boundaries is set up. North of 36, we get the north ambulance, and south, we get the south bus. Since the ambulance has moved to Perrysville, anytime we need the ambulance north of 36, it has been anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes before we get the ambulance. South of 36, you're looking at probably 40 to 45 minutes if the south ambulance is busy before the north bus can get to us, depending on the location, because we go clear down to Royer Trailer Sales and over. Was the timing thought out when you were looking for places to house these ambulances? I've always thought throughout my years in the fire service that the only place that this county ever worries about is the north end and the south end, and the taxpayers in the middle often get neglected. Is there any concern for the citizens in the middle? When the station in Cayuga and emergency services were utilized, we would have to wait maybe 15 minutes before the ambulance would arrive. And now you have to wait anywhere from 25 to possibly even 45 minutes. A couple of weeks ago, I sat in on one of the ambulance meetings, the committee meetings that was held at Help Fire in Dana. And during that meeting, I heard someone say that they were trying to get grants to fund these stations, which I understand because, that is a lot of money to build a station nowadays. And what I heard was take the information that you need from the northern end, because that's where that ambulance is intended for, which is unacceptable to me. Even though we don't live in the northern part of the county or the southern part of the county, we pay taxes just like everybody else, and I just don't think it's right that we must wait that extra 10 to 20 minutes on a medical unit to respond. You don't really notice it until the shoes are on the other feet and you are that one needing assistance. I have personally experienced sitting and talking to a patient for 1 minute, and then like the flip of a switch, you start doing CPR on that person. We have always had to wait on an ambulance and have never had the privilege of showing up the same time with the med unit or having them show up ahead of us. But to me, this move has just made things worse, because these people in their time of need now must wait longer for this level of care that could mean life or death. I have heard talk that this county only really needs 1 ambulance due to run volume, its size, or we just don't have the funding. I really think that it would be beneficial for this county to look at getting a 3rd ambulance and locate it in the middle portion of the county to serve all the citizens of the county. Every taxpayer and citizen should have the chance to receive an advanced level of care when needed in a timely manner. When the ambulance committee was formed, there was individuals put on it with medical background from the north and the south end of the county, but it was never considered putting someone on it from the middle of the county that has that kind of knowledge and deals with that stuff on a daily basis. If there had been, they would have been able to give input from the middle portion of the county. I also feel that if the south ambulance gets sent out on a call, the north ambulance should have to come down to at least the jail area to stage until that ambulance gets back in service. Also, if the ambulance service wants to do emergent transfers from Union ER in Clinton to the Union ER in Terre Haute, I think the county should really look at getting that 3rd ambulance, because I don't think it's right that we go down 1 ambulance while they are doing these transfers and running all over God's creation in Park County because their ambulance is busy. I joined the fire service to protect and provide medical service to the residents of Dana at the time, and now Alla Help Township. And as a taxpayer, I feel like we are getting the short end of the stick. I would like to think that the commissioners and the council need to start working together to come up with a solution to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Doug Bohannon, Universal.
Good day.
After that last meeting we had with Wabash Valley Resources and stuff here, I did a couple podcasts and everything. Did a lot of thinking, and you know, just throwing around money isn't going to get us what we need. I mean, we need a professional safety contractor to come in here and do a survey and find out what we need. You know, they're not going to give it to us. I mean, you think about it, and like Fayette, I know they got 300 kids. There needs to be 300 breathing apparatuses in that school. You know, so something was to happen, and your kids are in that school, you surely want to have something in there for them to be able to breathe. And, you know, I worked at the paper mill as a outage planner, and it was my job to take care of getting all the safety equipment in there. Well, it wasn't nothing like the CO2. I mean, we'd bring hire a contractor, and they'd come from out Indianapolis, and they'd have a rescue truck and all their equipment in it, but it was just 2 of them. And that was just if someone or 2 people would get hurt, they could take care of them. That wouldn't be 300. So if something happens in one of these dumps, they're going to have to take care of 300 people at the same time. So that's got to be considered. And to have that many, and looking at the prices of the apparatuses, I don't even know if they can afford it. Somebody sent me something that was like $1,000 or $1 million for a school or something like that. I can't remember, but it was crazy. You know, and it's got to be something a child can put on, because you're not going to have to be able to have 300 kids or even half that adults there helping these kids get these breathing apparatus on. These kids are going to have training where they can learn to put them on themselves. And, you know, sure, there's going to be some that's going to need help, but they're going to have training, you know, to be able to put this stuff on. And there's going to have to be monthly maintenance programs on these things, you know, just like a fire extinguisher. You got to go around once a month and make sure they're holding the pressure, check it. If it's dropped, you get rid of it, you get another one. You know, I mean, this is huge. And, you know, they say, well, you can buy a fire truck. Well, we don't know what we can get. We need someone to come in here and do a survey and tell us what we need for this unique pilot situation to protect our citizens. And it ain't just a matter of, hey, we're going to give the fire department $500, and I mean $500,000. That may not cover anything, you know.
Yeah.
Especially when you start looking into the prices of equipment and what we're going to have to do. But I think that we need to, you know, I don't know if they'll do it or we have to do it, and then I think they would surely have to foot the bill, because we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for them. You know, but I think safety is a huge, it's the top.
Yeah.
You know, when I was working at the mill, safety was number one, and it shouldn't be any different outside that mill, you know.
It's a comment, if you would, if you haven't already, if you reduce this in writing, to have that sent to either to the commissioners and or to the auditor, appreciate it. Good comment.
Yeah, and I will say, Doug, thank you for that. And I think the fire department's a big part of this. And not only just Black Diamond. When there's a big fire, whether it's a 2-alarm, 3-alarm, 10 departments will respond. So, you know, this isn't just training from one fire department. This is training for multiple agencies, not just one. So I think that's, you know, something else we need to, you know, look into. The safety part is how many people would be responding to a potential accident, disaster, you know. So.
And, you know, they're saying that they won't be doing nothing until 27. That ain't far off. I mean, how ready can, you know, they shouldn't be creating anything dangerous until all this stuff's in place, to where we can save our children and our residents should something happen. I mean, it's you got people in houses that, you know, live alone, that can't do nothing, but there's a lot to be considered. And I think most of us should start thinking of those things that we have to consider. I mean, there should be a survey of households that have seniors living by themselves. You know, I mean, a checklist where people have to go. I mean, this is the thing that knocks you out, and nobody knows you're there until it's too late. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yep. What are you here for?
I don't know. No CO2 dump. I'm Winnie Boyce. First off, I want to commend the commissioners for your responsiveness and your engagement with your community on this issue. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is very refreshing to see. I pay close attention to your guys' commissioner meetings as well as Vigo County's commissioner meetings, and the differences are glaringly apparent. So thank you so much for working with your community and really listening to them and not trying to sidestep that. So to that end, thank you so much for the comment period on the community benefits agreement package. Thank you for getting that information out so quickly and providing that to your communities. I had a question as to the timeline as to when we might see those questions or comments compiled and responses from WVR to those concerning, you know, whether or not they would be willing to talk further about some of those things, whether you, the commissioners, and WVR felt some of those were reasonable. Is that in the works?
July 15th, wasn't it, was the date? I think comment period, not that it can't be extended, but July 15th was a date that we had established as to receiving comments. We'll be providing them to WVR also for their response, if they respond.
Do you have a timeline for when the compiled questions and the responses might be available for the community to see?
I don't believe so, do we?
I don't have anything to date, no. And
Is that something that maybe you guys could think about doing?
We can, sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're not-
I just don't have a timeline like right now. I mean, I will say a lot of the emails that I did receive were very well thought out. Some of them were the essence of 10 and 12 paragraphs and really got me thinking on a lot of questions. So thanks to whoever did submit those, because they were very well thought out and a lot of good questions asked. So
Sure, but I don't have a timetable for you at
That's
this point.
fair.
so.
That's fair. But we would really appreciate it. I think that would go a long way to
Yeah.
keep the transparency
Most
going.
likely it'll be put on the website, whatever, we'll try to consolidate questions. There's no reason to have
Multiple
same
versions.
question that, at least as we interpret it anyway, same question. Sometimes you make mistakes and it's a different question, but it doesn't look like it. so.
Understandable. I appreciate that. I also commend you on your website because it is very easy to use and it's easy to find the
Well,
information.
that's a first.
So I spend a lot of time on websites. I appreciate the fact that you put the agendas out, that you have your meetings scheduled.
Well,
So-
you thank the auditor for that.
Yeah, that's-
Good job. Because
Yeah,
it
if it's working, it's because they've made it work, so.
It is very clear, and it certainly is not that way in Vigo County, so kudos to you.
Well, excellent, guys.
So, and that brings me to the kind of the final portion. I watched the Vigo County Commissioners meeting this morning, and I wanted to bring a couple things to your attention. I don't know if you have watched the meeting, but WVR and their representatives, Mr. Zeller, and a couple others were there this morning with members of the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. So I just wanted to make sure it was brought to your commissioner's attention that WVR seems to have kind of changed track and is seeking to get signatures from the Wabash Valley Community Foundation to stand in lieu of that community engagement. I know at first we were talking about them looking for the commissioner's signatures. So my question to you is, have you heard any further from the Western Indiana Community Foundation about whether or not WVR has reached out to them?
They have reached out to the Western. They were here and discussed that, I thought, last meeting.
was the last meeting? I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are engaged. I don't know to what extent that the Western has responded to how they want to. There's been a response, but I don't know if there's been anything worked out between the two of them. They're wanting to donate, if there's going to be a donation or anything to them. The understanding is that they will, it needs to be with no strings attached, and it needs to be actually a donation, of which they can administer. How that will work is really up to the foundation. We don't control that foundation.
Right.
We make suggestions or whatever, but the foundation is an independent agency, if you will. WVR has changed, I think, the way in which they're looking at from because of the last meeting, and that they're looking at the things that commissioners actually do control, or I guess control, or have the administration of, i.e. the highway system, the roads, public safety. But the other things, I think they have to kind of remove those and are looking to go to the foundation with those. Now that is all just in the works.
Right.
So it's nothing that's been signed, sealed, or delivered.
So I guess what I'm here to kind of let you know, at least from my perspective, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not, versed in those types of things, but just due to the lack of transparency that has, accumulated over the past year and a half, I would be very leery and make sure that the Community Foundation, the Western Indiana Community Foundation, you said no strings attached, to make sure that they understand that unless it is 100% no strings attached, that this could very well stand in place of the community benefits agreement that would provide us the protections that we asked for in those comments. Because that was said at the Vigo County meeting. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware, and you might watch the meeting, it is on YouTube, just like your guys' are, but I wanted to make that very clear that that might be a loophole in which they could go through and say, we gave this money to them, we're giving you $500,000, our requirements have been met, and check that off and move on. So we just want to make sure that you know that this might be our very last opportunity to get those protections and monitoring in place. So we just wanted to make you aware.
What I might suggest is that you write the Western Community Foundation, or
And
Western,
send them that,
yeah. Anyway, the Western, how's it
Indiana
called?
Community Foundation.
There you go. But anyway, might suggest, because again, that is a 501(c)(3), that's
Absolutely.
its own corporation. It doesn't report to the county. We do share things with them, but they don't report to us and we don't report to them, so we
But
are working with an independent agency there.
Yes.
And I will say, I think the Board of Commissioners here will probably recommend some of those safety requirements or suggestions from our standpoint to WVR. So hopefully they will work with us on whatever requirements that we may deem necessary. And if not, then so be it. But we hope they're going to be a good steward in the community like anybody else would be. And if we deem 10 items need to be addressed, hopefully they'll work with us and address those items.
I absolutely hope so too. I just didn't want anyone to be surprised because
And
they
that
have
would-
gone through
yeah.
loopholes before. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page with the information that we had gotten today.
Absolutely.
Thank
So I
you.
appreciate you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Not seeing anyone else approaching the bench. Move on. What's on the first agenda here? Perrysville Town Park. We had a inquiry from the township trustee, and that's an ongoing review,
Yep.
not just with the town park there, but with all the
It's
parks.
several, yep.
Yeah. One of the concerns I have is that we have the proper paperwork for all the parks, that we actually are administering county parks.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
Anyway, that's just started.
Yeah.
Ambulance building proposal. Mark O'Hare, would you like to mention where we're at that point? You don't need to go to belabor the points that we don't know anything about, but just where we're at.
The ambulance committee has started meeting again. We're going to meet again next week. We are trying to lock down specific costs to get site surveys done, stuff like that. Our plan is to have that in place before next month's council meeting. Council has said they're willing to work on this with us, but they want fixed prices, and that's where we ended up last night. We do have some people drawing up the drawings. There's a floor plan that's done. It's pretty good. It's actually where we were about a year and a half ago. We went back to the original floor plan. But I think it should come out pretty good. The idea is to get this done as soon as possible so that, like, health fires concerns can be mitigated a little bit. You know, we're still not going to have anything in the middle of the county, but we'll have something closer at least in the North Vermilion area. So.
Okay. Thank you. Questions?
I don't, because I think right now it's more of just trying to get these two buildings thing. But I would echo Mr. Peeler's comments that I think in a perfect world, 3 stations would be ideal for the county. One at the Rise jail area, I think, to cover that area that is more or less forgotten about. But I think short term, trying to get these 2 built and mitigate that response time back down to Cayuga is probably priority 1. But anyway, that's all I have right now. So
The one thing that the committee members are, let's see if I can remember who they are. Kevin Wickens is actually on that committee, who represents the middle part of the county, and also the township trustees. Mark O'Hare is the chair of the committee. He's the emergency management director. Neil Costello, engineer, contractor, works construction. Also now since on the council. When he first started on the committee, he was not a council member at that time. Rick Weir, council member, representing the northern part of the county, and
Brent Lewis,
who is a fire chief, EMS, at Perrysville. So those are the members right now that represent. To your point, Kevin, I don't know to what extent he has EMS, but he is involved with the fire department there in the middle part, and Dana. He's also echoed some of the same concerns that you have as well. So you're not a lone soldier tonight. Well, maybe tonight you are, but you're not a lone soldier as far as that concern anyway. So thank you, Mark. Mitigation proposal plan.
Right. I sent that contract to you last week.
You're right back up here.
You've got some issues and words they use, engineering, stuff like that. Again, I believe this is a company that these people are kind of nested under, so they just use the standard company contract. The company does engineering projects. It hasn't been fixed to date, but my plan is to work with them, try and get it fixed next week, get it back out to you, and I'd really like to get this signed at the next meeting. The way it works is we've got a grant for $20,304 that the state is administering to us. and we have to match that with $6,786, and that's a match in kind. So right now, we're getting $28 an hour for discussing this in this meeting. That's what match in kind means. The people who attend the meetings, the people who work on this, whenever I'm on the phone talking to you, I jot down times, the name of the person I'm talking to, and just a little bit of what we're discussing. So that match in kind will not be an issue. That's not like the county needs to come up with this cash. They just need to show that there's involvement. The involvement in this project, when it starts going, is from every single municipality, business, law enforcement, fire, EMS, everybody in the county is part of this plan. So that
How
won't
many
be an
more
issue.
hours do we have to go to fill that?
What's that?
How many more hours do we need to go to get that filled?
Oh,
The
I can do a
$6,000.
filibuster here and we'll wipe it out in one meeting.
Yeah.
So, no, I just,
Yeah, this is a multi-hazard mitigation
mitigation
plan
plan.
for the whole county.
Right,
So
right.
it involves, forewarn the towns and cities in the county that you'll be a participant in this. So your participation will be required and be able to make this a workable plan, so. it'll
And
be
the way it works is
forthcoming.
you get a 5-year plan, you have 5 years to mitigate issues that are known. Some of these issues are weather related, so you're always going to have another one that becomes the new problem, another road or whatever. In the past, it's been like, it's not Meridian, the 600 North. We kept putting riprap on there, and it kept getting washed out in the field, and we pull it out of the field, put it back, and all that kind of stuff. And the last time they did it, they actually put a slurry of concrete in with it, and it's held. That's mitigating an issue, and those are the kind of things that this plan addresses, assigns a municipality or the county highway department or whoever to fix, and then we track those repairs as they happen.
Mhm.
And it also can be used to apply for grants, because now we've identified an issue and a shortfall, and if there's a grant that can pay for that, we can use this as the purpose for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Any further comments? Open issues, we do have one that's not on here. We do have a $500,000 grant through the community crossings that we need to start the application. It actually is open July 1st, I believe, closes July 31st. Mike's been working on we have $1 million, we can go up to 1.5 million. So there's another $500,000 that we can apply for the second round that we didn't apply for in the first round.
Okay.
So Mike's been working on that. We were also looking at putting that toward the tunnel. The initial, that's the tunnel at Cayuga, that is. The initial response is that these funds are only good for existing roads, and since this is an existing road, it wouldn't qualify for the tunnel. I don't know if that's the final say-so in it, but that's at least one of the responses we've
Okay.
received back. So you might want to get with Mike if there's anything that is pressing, and you might look at the asset management plan and see what
Okay.
might be sitting inside that as far as
Sure.
high priority, though that has not been,
Identified.
well, we still need an engineer. So
And how much?
Yeah.
How much was it we're applying for? You said
500,000.
500,000. Okay.
But the application has to be in by July 31st, and so we are approaching that date.
Okay.
Any other open issues? Hearing none, we'll move on to announcements. The WVR, well, we already mentioned this, but the Wabash Valley Resource Community Benefit Package is due July 15th, if you will. And then we'll carry the ball from there to see how many responses we got and what we need to do with it. Drainage Board opening, apply on the website. Apparently, commissioners appoint 4 members, I believe, to the board, and then the county surveyor sits as a de facto by virtue of his position on the board. He's non-voting and he participates, but non-voting, he can't hold office on it. But anyway, if anybody's interested in the Drainage Board, there is apparently a position open if somebody would make application. That isn't a commissioner appointment. And that's all the announcements. Any other announcements?
I don't have any.
Okay, we're into our second round of public comment. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.